Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host. Now, if you've been hearing some sword fighting or some beautiful poetry being recited, you've been probably walking by one of our rehearsals for our next production, Cyrano. And who better to talk about that production than our three guests today? So please join me in welcome Cole Mantis, who plays Christian, Stella Gagazian, who plays Roxanne, and Alexander Preziosa, who plays Cyrano. So welcome to the show, guys. And welcome back, Alexander. I guess it's
glad to be back.
Welcome back to you, because it was just about a year ago today that we were doing the Cheers interview. Good, so welcome back. So before we get to talking about Cyrano, because I know you've been having great rehearsals happening on that, because my office is right across the hall, so I hear it all. It sounds so exciting. Let's let the audience know a little bit about you guys. Okay, so Cole, where did you come from? How did you end up here at Bergen Community College?
Well, it is my first year at Bergen. I moved here from Georgia, so I'm not familiar with the area, and I didn't come from any of the local theater programs. But when I was in Georgia, I was involved with Rocky Horror Picture Show, so that's what got me into theater.
Oh, cool, cool. So you did the stage production, or you did the...
Stage production.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. And where in Georgia?
It was at the Plaza Theater in Atlanta.
And you're from Atlanta. That's
where
you were. Oh, cool, cool. Yeah, the Plaza Theater. Yeah, boy, that's a good crowd turnout. That one. Good, good, good. And Stella, how did you get to Bergen?
I actually did not. I did theater throughout high school, but I didn't think it was going to follow me to college.
Where was high school?
Emerson High School.
Oh, cool.
And I ended up taking one of Jim's classes, Intro to Theater, and I learned more about theater club, and then auditions and everything were coming up, so I went for it, and I ended up loving it, and I'm here. So.
And you've also done some backstage stuff, too,
yes,
that we'll talk about as well.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about it. And Alexander?
So I used to do theater all throughout high school. I took a break for a long time. I had gone to MSU for a few years, was studying philosophy and religion there. I left because it wasn't working out. And now, when I took your history of musical theater class, you had mentioned an audition for the Chairs, and it got me back in, and now I'm a theater student here.
Cool. I did it. I got all three of you. I know. I can't believe I had all three of you in classes. No.
None of us failed.
And none of you failed, so that's why we're here today. So, Alexander, what other shows you did? Cheers here, but what did you do before you got here? What other?
Before I got here, I was in a production of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead at Rutgers Newark. I did Guys and Dolls, The Man Who Came to Dinner, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, The Tempest. I'm trying to think what else.
Wow, these are great.
Fahrenheit 451, that was another one I did. Those were the shows I did throughout high school. I also did a production of Sweet Charity once.
In high school? No.
It was a high school, it was a program that was for high school students, but it wasn't at my high school.
Oh, okay, cool. So you got to get involved. It's almost added to your credits, as opposed to being a high school credit, you got another credit that's outside. That's cool. And Stella, what shows did you do?
In high school, I did Once Upon a Mattress, Gypsy, Mame, and Into the Woods. And then here, I did backstage stuff for Flea in Her Ear, what else? Guys and Dolls, and Hamlet.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. And Rocky Horror is what we did in Atlanta. Did you do any other productions while you were in school?
When I was in middle school, I was in Les Mis at the high school. And then when I was in high school, I helped around, but I was never actively involved in the theater. I was more just in the wings, kind of.
Backstage. Well, I think Stella's talking about that, doing it, and I think it's great for an actor to have the experience backstage.
It's like a different experience.
You do. You get what everybody's doing there. Yeah, and appreciation for it.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it's not just about me acting on stage. There's people up here that make this all happen. So I think that's kind of cool.
No, it was a lot of work, but it was definitely a good experience to have, and I'm glad that even though I wasn't on stage, I was still able to be involved with them in high school.
Got to go to the cast parties.
You get all the good stuff. It makes you more comfortable. Like for me, I've noticed it's made me so comfortable with everyone here. And now, now I'm acting in the show, it's so easy almost because I'm already familiar with everyone. So it's nice. It's very different.
Yeah, I think Cole's the one that's kind of coming in as the newbie, saying, now I got to break into all this thing, have a great role in the show, but also, I don't know these people, and they seem to all know each other, right? I mean, it just...
everybody else they've been in shows together, they know each other from classes, they've just had general interactions as friends and in groups, and it was a little intimidating coming from Georgia, good old Southern boy coming from New Jersey, and being surrounded by a bunch of fresh-faced theater kids who I did not know. And
But it's such a welcoming family.
it is.
Isn't it? It's such
Oh,
a,
yeah.
that's what's,
No, everybody on the cast has been very accepting and welcoming, and they're all fantastic people.
now, are all three of you theater majors? What is your major? What do you?
I am actually a developmental sociology and psychology major.
Sweet, good. So this is just an extracurricular thing for you to do?
I happen to have a fondness for theater.
Actually, I think that's great. And I think a lot of people forget that. They think if I'm not a theater major, I can't be in a show. But you're proving that's not true here. You can certainly be in it. And of course, once you get out, there's community theaters and also things to be involved in. So good luck with that.
I'll need it.
Stella, your major?
I am an education major.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do want to minor in theater because might as well, I enjoy it so much. But
So you want to teach?
yes,
Oh,
I do.
cool,
I do
cool.
preschool.
Preschool.
Yeah, I love
oh,
kids.
that's good. A lot of improv exercises
yes,
with
it's so
animals
fun.
I see in your future
Exactly.
there. Good. And you're about halfway through the program? No, you're a little more than halfway.
I'm graduating this May.
I thought so, yeah,
and then
yeah.
I plan to go to Montclair State right after.
To finish the
Yes,
education part,
yeah.
and then minor, if
Yeah,
possible,
yeah.
with the theater.
Hopefully.
Great. Good. Well, you can make it
Fingers
happen. You can make it happen. And Alexander, you're our theater major.
Yes, I am the resident theater major in the production.
Yes, we got one.
Thank God.
And I can still change them. Cole's.
We got time.
I can
We
pull
got
him to
time.
the dark side soon. So I'll have to get back for another couple of years. But so being a theater major here, what kind of courses do you take to?
So a lot of them are I'm in the performance track for theater. So a lot of it is skills that as actors we're going to need. Right now I'm taking movement for the actor. That's the one that seems to be pretty interesting. I'm taking basic acting as well.
Right.
Stage makeup, which has been incredibly useful in both of the shows. Being able to do the old age makeup for the
makeup that you got
chairs
coming on, yeah.
and the nose that's coming up for this show. And also a general introduction to theater. And some of the other aspects that go into being part of the theatrical process, stagecraft, and right now taking theater production workshop, learning the various different aspects of theater and what it's like to start a theater company.
Great.
Because after a lot of people, when they end up getting out of college, that's their first goal is to start a theater company, and they need a wide diversity of skills. Because if everyone wants to be an actor, you can't get a lot done.
And nothing's going to happen. No one's going to build a set or do the lights. So yeah,
Exactly.
you're out. Yeah, I love this class. I love. We were there late last night, just kind of reading through the plays that we're thinking about doing. So it's just kind of fun. It's a good process there to learn about that. So and Cole, what do you plan to do when you finish Bergen? Do you have a goal yet?
I plan to transfer to NYU,
cool.
and then I want to finish my undergrad, then go to law school.
Oh, great. Development psychology into a lawyer.
I want to do child advocacy and custody cases and
wow.
things of that nature.
Good for you. Will you stay up north, do you think, or do you think
I
you'll go back?
would like to make home in New York.
Oh,
and kind
good.
of-
You still have roots in Atlanta, family?
I miss Atlanta. I love Atlanta. It'll always be where I grew up and where I came from. But it's also a point I think I should kind of move on, grow up, go on, have my own life somewhere else.
Yeah. But it's always you can go back and visit and check out friends there.
And I still have, there's still people I love to see
Of
there.
course, yeah. You've got that great connection down south. Good. Until they move north too, because they hear how great it is. You're thinking about Montclair.
Montclair, yeah.
And what are you thinking about?
I'm still fairly early in the process, so I've got a lot of
So we've got
options.
time to talk.
Got plenty of time.
Are you thinking New York? Or are you thinking staying out here in Jersey? Or going further
I'm
away?
thinking I want to go into New York if I have the opportunity. I want to go to a program that's going to let me continue in a bachelor's in acting specifically, as opposed to a general theater studies. So it has to look at the schools that are going to take the credits from Bergen and also schools that offer bachelor's level acting that aren't bachelor's of fine arts.
Right. Well, we can tweak those things too. The schools are very, very good at talking and having the conversation about, well, this course matches this course, and so you'd be surprised that about getting into a BFA. We've just had Matt Rella transferred to Marymount Manhattan and gotten their BFA. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's possible. So don't
that's
rule
exciting.
that idea out.
I'm not going
Jim will
to.
save you.
They tweak things and they might, and they work with you. So don't think that that's not possible. And now just looking at you, I was talking about chairs, but you've also did Into the Woods.
I did Into the Woods,
So those were the two productions you did your first year here.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So we've kept you busy.
Yeah.
So now you guys are doing this wonderful new production called Cyrano here on campus. Not new for the playwright. Edmund Rostand wrote that over 100 years ago. This translation is not, Michael Hollinger did the translation of it, an adaptation to it. Did you know anything about the old Cyrano de Bergerac story? Is there a comparison that you guys have done, or you just kind of go, no, I'm going to focus on this?
I've watched a lot of the clips on YouTube of the old movie, and the language difference. I love the way the script is written. It's so easy to understand, but it's also so beautiful. Like everything just flows. I love it.
Kept those moments in it that you needed to have without being so clunky dialogue.
Exactly, without like having someone not understand what's going on. Because me, I need straight up word for word. That's it. That's what I need to understand. But it's so beautifully written. And it doesn't take away anything from the show. I think it's still the same, like, amazing show.
The poetry, which is so important,
yeah.
is still a part of it. Did you do any comparison? I know you're my historian here, so I know that you do your research.
So I haven't compared it to any other versions of the show. A part of that has to do with my own personal preferences when it comes to doing shows. I try, once I get the script in hand, I try to avoid any other adaptations of the work, because I like to look at the text that we have in it of itself and use that as my metric. I avoid watching other productions, adaptations that go into film, because I want my performance to be my own.
Right, good, very unique. And I know our director, which is, I think, a director's job, Tom O'Neill is directing it, and I think we worked with reading 3 or 4 different translations, and he picked this one. So I know he did his homework making this decision to find the production that I think is more easily to roll off the tongue of the actors and more understandable and not clunky to listen to for the audience. And still, it still flows and keeps the integrity of the beautiful poetry that's so much a part of this show. And it's based historically, right? It's got a there was a real Cyrano.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh! So I'll tell you all about it, but it's based on a real story that of a tale. Now it doesn't. He of course turns it into a melodrama, kind of a heroic melodrama with it, but it's based on a true character from the period. So it's kind of a fun historical piece to it.
I didn't know that before, and I hadn't done any comparison or looked into the story that much. Like Alex, I like to keep it pretty my own, kind of. Inherently, when you see somebody else do a role, you're like something that they do, you pick up on that, and you might subconsciously do that. So I did want to keep it fresh. But agreeing with Selin, the script is very agreeable to everybody. And the characters, I definitely can understand where my character's coming from more, and the script plays a huge role in that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And your relationship, the relationship that your character. Well, we'll get into that. I want to talk about the whole idea is that you auditioned for this show. So you said in class, no, that was Chairs. So how did you think to audition for Cyrano?
You told me about
I
Cyrano.
thought I did. I said,
It's always you, Jim. It's always you.
You were the one who suggested.
I'd like to be a producer. Okay.
And I had tried out for Barefoot in the Park before the previous semester. I didn't try out for Into the Woods. Not a huge musical person. Rocky Horror is my one exception. But I thought that Cyrano was a more historical story. It was something that I could identify with and relate to. So I thought I'd give it a chance.
Cool.
And it worked out.
It did work out kind of nicely. Sal, how did you pick Cyrano? I know you guys had to make a choice. You know, what show do you want to audition for this semester?
I think I started looking into it a few months before, and I was reading about it, and it seemed very interesting. And I was like, wow, this is a character that is so unique, and like I loved her character so much, and I was like, oh, let me give it a shot. Why not? And also, this is like the first show where I've had so much time to really get into like character development and give myself time to fully understand the show. And so I just gave it a shot. Did not think it would work out, but it did. And I'm very happy about it. I am
did
very
quite nicely,
happy.
yeah. And Alexander, how'd you pick
So
Cyrano?
I was personally very excited for Cyrano. As an actor, I like to challenge myself. I like to take on big tasks and really, really push myself to the limit, because I'm a masochist? I don't know. But an artistic masochist.
To each their own.
But when looking at the role of Cyrano, it was one that I've always found interesting. You know, I think that Cyrano is a very, very relatable character. I think we all experience insecurities the way he does, and we really let it dictate our lives. And seeing the show, I really wanted the opportunity to take that on. And I was so nervous the week of auditions because I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't get it.
Right,
But
right. You sold your soul for this one, and you hope to do it.
And I hope that it works out. But Cyrano was very much a part that I've wanted to try because of that very human element to him.
Well, we're going to talk more about it. So we're going to take a short break. Come right back. We're talking with Sela, Cole, and Alexander about Cyrano. So join us right back.
We'd do anything for kids. Yet 1 in 5 children in the U.S. struggle with hunger. Help end childhood hunger near you. Learn how at feedingamerica.org.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Hello and welcome back to Bergen Stages Television. Today we're talking about our upcoming production, Cyrano, and I have Alexander Preziosi here, Sela Gagosian, and Cole Mantis here talking about the show. So right before the break, I kind of interrupted you to get to the break, Alexander, about your saying, oh, if I didn't get this role, what was I going to do?
Yeah, it was very much what was going on. I was so excited for the possibility of doing this. Cyrano, it's a great show. It is. And it's a classic at this point. Everybody knows the story of Cyrano de Bergerac. And the idea of playing such a flawed human character, there's almost a tragic element to him to a certain extent, without giving too much away with the entire situation. The story doesn't have the happiest ending in the world. And it's really, you know, Cyrano's really strong insecurities that lead to that. And I think that's something we all kind of do. We let our insecurities dictate our lives and really ruin our potential. And Cyrano is sort of a tragic character in that regard. That's his tragic flaw, is his insecurity.
Right, right. And so so there's such a great theme in this show that you take away with that people can relate to, going, well, wait a minute, you know, I have to be bigger than these insecurities. I've got to deal with them, or tragic flaws happen along the way there. That's beautifully said. So back to the audition part. When you guys auditioned, what did you do? What did Tom have you do? Was it a hard audition? Was it a come in with your monologue and?
He had us read segments from the show itself.
So sight reading.
And we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
actually, I know we all auditioned at one point,
Yeah.
the three of us were reading
Together.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So none of us were doing individual. I think the only one who really has monologues to do individually would have been Alex.
Joe's character does too.
Yeah,
Joseph-
Lebret.
Joseph-
Yeah, he does have some. But we all went in there, and each of us kind of took on the cape of whoever we were supposed to be. I was supposed to be a dense, pretty boy, so I did my best that I could to not have confidence in my own words, but know that I at least look good enough. And that's the character that I auditioned as.
Good.
It was very comfortable, the audition. I think we all kind of had a connection, and it just worked. It was easy. It was not nerve-wracking.
Did you have time to work together outside before you went into the audition? So you had time to run some of this stuff with each other?
Not before. We went in kind of blindly,
Yeah.
and we
And
had
then
our scripts.
Afterwards, you had
Yeah.
your time to
Yeah,
do
me and
some
you
stuff
went,
there.
and
We read through.
And you
but
had this down, so you're. I don't even need the script. I'm ready to do
We,
this.
for me, it was, I did have to read a few monologues at one point. Yeah, I had to read monologues as Cyrano. And one of the interesting things that Tom did, Tom likes to explore the human voice as an element. So he had us do these parts with outrageous accents, like
That
telling
was,
us
it was
to.
amazing.
It was fun. It helped
was.
us.
We did Jersey accents. It was so funny.
Like,
but it helped
Takes
a
on
lot.
a different meaning, and then
Yes.
you get
Right
Totally.
after that, any tension we had, any like uncomfortableness was gone.
Yeah.
We all realized we were just kind of there to
Yeah.
do
We
our
all
best.
make an idiot out of ourselves. We're all together
Yeah.
in this sort of
Yep.
thing. So that's
Yep.
cool.
It
That's
was
cool.
also cool because at one point, Tom had me and it was Joe, I think, just hold hands and he was like, put the scripts down. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to talk about? And he was like, just talk to each other. I was like, okay, but it worked so well. And it just, I don't know, it, like you said before, all the tension that was there before just was gone 5 minutes after,
That's
which was
great.
really cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
To get to an audition like
Yeah.
that, because there's so much adrenaline pumping. There's the my life's at stake here feeling that, and to have a director calm you down and say,
Yeah.
oh, it's okay. We're just going to tweak this and work this out. That's great. And so you all got great roles. So Alexander, you've been kind of talking already a little bit about Cyrano and the characters. Can you tell us a little bit? And you're not giving too much away in this play. Tell me about him. Who is he?
Cyrano is almost defined by himself, and I know that sounds weird, but his name is one that carries a lot of gravitas to everybody around him. There's a point in the show when they say, you don't know Cyrano de Bergerac, the entire room erupts with that. He is a man whose reputation precedes himself, defined by the white panache that flies over his head. He's the best swordsman around. He's a strong poet. He's got this huge nose. And I think he's really a very, very charismatic character. He's big when he enters a room. Everyone knows he's there.
He's a soldier. And what's his relationship in the theater? I know he has...
So he is a playwright and a poet as well. He writes plays and he writes poems. Well, that's what playwrights and poets do. But Cyrano himself is a very, very strong believer in the power of art and the meaning of art. And a lot of it has to do with back to that whole topic of insecurity as well. His fascination with art is sort of a compensation because the way I see it is Cyrano is an individual driven by the notion of romantic love and finds himself to be a totally appalling and hideous individual.
To himself.
So he overcompensates, and he's devoted his life to the arts, to swordsmanship, to being this great hero as sort of a way of making up for the lack of romance in his life.
Gotcha, yeah. And talking about the romance in his life, we go to Roxanne that Stella's playing.
Roxanne is a very emotion-led character. That's one thing I've noticed. She feels, so she does, and that's how it is. She like romanticizes everything. She's very childlike, but not in an immature way. She's just very playful. She's flirty. She's fun. I think a big part of her role is that she loves, like you said, he is a poet. She loves poetry. So everything that I love, Cyrano does, and I don't realize it. I think that's like the best part.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows how she's naive almost because I've known this guy for so long and haven't realized that he's everything I love in a person and everything I love in life. And so,
Except he thinks it's got to be beauty too to go with it.
Right,
Looks have got
right.
to come with it, and so he of course never. But you guys are second cousins.
Second cousins.
Second cousins.
Yeah.
Well, we won't get
In
into
the
yeah,
play.
whatever.
It's the 1800s. Things are a little different.
a little
Yeah,
freer flowing.
yeah.
But you grew up with him. I mean, and
Yeah.
you know that he's a playwright. We start the show with you going to the theater, so
Right,
you obviously go to theater.
right.
So you know he writes this stuff, but you just don't
Exactly.
put.
She's very blinded
You don't put
almost.
the two and two.
Yes.
Yeah, she is. She's just
yeah.
like, I
She's
didn't
just like,
even think
hi,
about
I'm just
that."
happy to be here.
And she's available. We all
Yes.
know she's available.
Yes.
She's ready to be married. She's at that age. It's time to get her
Yeah.
wed, and she's being wooed by several
Yes.
different.
She's very smart. They say how she knows all these languages and she's very established, but she doesn't realize what's in front of her, which I think is so funny, which is very similar to me. I never realized what's like right in front of me. So it's very easy to relate because she's also, like me, very emotional and like emotion-led. And it's nice to portray a role like that because it's so close to home, I guess, you know? So,
Touches on things
yes,
there.
it does, it does.
And then we turn to Christian. So Cole, tell us a little about Christian.
Well, Christian is a very kind but lacking individual. And I mean that in this way. Christian has had an easier life. He is a classically handsome man. He has never had to talk his way out of much. He's never had to rely on anything besides his good looks to get him through his life. The only thing that his looks have never gotten him is love. He uses his looks as a crutch in every social situation he can because he knows that those don't disappoint. In all other regards, he believes he'll disappoint.
Wow.
He might be
It's just
brave.
a different kind of insecurity. Yeah, it's an interesting. Everybody has their
So, and like Cyrano does, Cyrano takes his strong suits with poetry and playwriting, and Christian relies too heavily to an extent on his looks and appearance. And he's not a bad character. He cares. He wants to have that deeper emotional context, but he's never had a situation in life where he actually had to figure out what that deep emotional context was.
But he finds it through this play, and
He finds it in Roxanne, and it's that moment of, if you've ever seen a girl and your jaw drops, or guy, whatever you prefer, but your mind goes blank, and all you can think about is that you wish you had the right words to say to them to communicate that you feel such a way, but for all you're trying, you can't find
nothing
them.
comes out, and you feel like a.
You're just a babbling buffoon who
And Christian's new to the town, isn't he?
Christian is a new soldier in the same guard.
The
as
Gascony
Cyrano.
Guard.
Gascony Guard.
And he has some friends, but again, he is still relying on those good looks. He has bravado among men, but what he actually desires in life would be a love relationship with Roxanne.
And so this gets into a little bit more of the plot. So in order for Christian to woo Roxanne, he needs the help of Cyrano, and Cyrano provides help in which way?
So Cyrano plays the role of Christian's voice. Christian, not being the best with words, asks Cyrano to help him, and Cyrano comes with the idea of, how about this? I'll tell you what to say. I'll write on your behalf. I'll be your voice, and I'll be the deeper meaning of the relationship, and you be the looks and the charm. And that's where the central conflict of the show comes from, that scenario of Christian being the one that Roxanne loves, but it's Cyrano's words.
And the word Cyrano has actually written is because of his love for Roxanne.
Yep.
So he's giving him these words that truly he would wish himself to be able to say to her.
And it kind of sells Christian's love because it's coming from a very honest and real place. Cyrano is talking about the absolute love of his life.
Which helps the plot move along. So we don't want to give away much, but it's a great story. There's been many versions of the story in film and all that kind of stuff, even updated. I always remember the Steve Martin Roxanne movie that's kind of an updated version of it. But this is such a beautiful production. You're into sword play. You guys are sword fighting. You do say some great poetry. You get to read some great poetry along the way.
I look pretty.
You get to look pretty. The costumes are amazing. Marie
Yes.
Natali is doing some amazing costume work in this. The show will open February 22nd. So at this rehearsal period, what's going on? What are you up to at this point in rehearsals?
The show is completely blocked, which is very exciting, except for the fight scenes.
Which means everything is staged, so you know where you're moving and grabbing things.
Which is very exciting.
And it's a very ensemble production. Everybody's pitching in and doing all this kind of stuff there.
Which is really fun.
I think Aaron Ingersoll's doing sword play, doing sword
Yes.
fighting, teaching the fight choreography.
Yeah.
Good. Cool.
We just had our first major rehearsal of choreographing the first fight scene in the show with her the other day.
Looks
and that's
great.
A huge fight scene.
It looks great.
It does look really good.
Dimitri McCormick is doing the set. We have Stephen Schwartz doing sound for the show. Who else am I? Matt Owitz is getting props. It's a proppy little show.
It
It is.
There's and I love the way he's staged. I don't want to go way too away, but the fact that everything's there, you just grab it and present it that way there. And so you're heading for opening night. So you get into that technical rehearsal, the dress rehearsal stuff, and get people to come see the show.
Of course.
Yeah,
That's
right.
the
That's
biggest
kind of what
part.
we're doing
Yeah.
it for.
Fingers crossed.
But it's a wonderful show, and I'm so excited about it coming up so soon. So unfortunately we're done, guys. So just to wrap up, thank you, Alexander, Sella, and Cole for
Thank you
for
for
coming
having
here
us.
today. Oh, sure. The show opens February 22nd and runs for 2 weekends. It's in the Interhall Lab Theater. So the show opens on February 22nd at 7:30 p.m. in the Lab Theater. You can go to tickets.bergen.edu and you'll be able to get your tickets there. So thank you guys once again, and thank you for joining the show.